Well, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, whenever you're whenever you're sitting down to read this or to spend a couple of minutes with me. It's been a crazy couple of days. It's Wednesday, September 18th. It is journal number 173, which means it's T+169. Can't believe I'm just a couple of days away from 6 months post transplant. It is um, a cause to pause and constant wonder about what I just went through or what I continue to go through. And the fact that I'm here, probably a dangerous part of my recovery, because I'm starting to feel a little bit better than I probably really am, still being 100% immunocompromised. So you just have to remember to be constantly vigilant. But it's been a crazy couple of days because we've been really busy. I'd say that the Majestic Plural, I've been really busy uh, with a number of things that are really, terrific. We start out the day, Lesley and I start out the day with a nice walk, probably 45 minutes to over an hour each day, which means that it's, 3 miles or close to it or just over it, which is terrific. And then I come back and I go to work, and we've been working diligently on trying to put together um, lists of who to contact to get information, book out about, um, creating emails to those individuals or companies or groups or associations, um, dealing with organizations that have expressed an interest in helping get the Misfire message out there, and meetings with my editor and our tiny little team of people, Ryan, my son, our son, and Lauren Pissell from Tink Media, and working diligently to find the best possible ways to communicate um, about the book to the greatest number of people to get the most profound result. Um, and that's all pretty obvious, or pretty, it's what you would expect. And I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with any of that. It's just interesting that the blog topics over the last few days have have been following a central theme of action, of productivity, of success and achievement and accomplishment. And in all of that, one of the things that I've noticed while I was trying to, pound uh, 4 quarts of effort and project material into a 5-quart container, uh, is the anxiety, how the level of anxiety ratchets up while you're doing stuff like that. Because much of what I'm doing is or are things that I've never done before, um, and it's it's hard to do that while your amygdala, while that tiny little part of your brain, the prehistoric part of your brain, the part of the brain that developed first and that had you crawl, helped you crawl out of the ooze, um, is screaming in your ear not to do that. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you call it the amygdala and recognize its function um, in psychology or in biology, uh, or you call it the resistance, or as Seth Godin calls it, the lizard brain. Um, they're all different names for the same uh, sinister component of each of our psyches. Um, and I don't think that there's anything that any of us can do about the fact that this element of all of our personalities exists. I mean, it is the purpose of the amygdala to keep us alive, to keep us from harm. And the way that it does that is by creating these overwhelming waves of anxiety and fear that prevent us from doing things that we really need to do or should do or must do in order to move forward with our development, in order to move closer to self-actualization, or if you've achieved self-actualization, to continue to grow, to keep growing. And I feel this very, very strongly right now, especially right now, as I try to create, letters, emails to go out to different folks. And you can feel the tension build as you come up with content material to put in there, because your amygdala, which is not capable of conscious thought, it's not capable of language, it has no language skills, can't communicate with you the way other parts of your brain are able to go ahead and enter into a dialogue. It just creates these waves of emotions that are terrifying, that well up inside you and try to crush whatever creativity you're capable of. And I was feeling this more and more over the last few days as I move, more and more into areas that are uncomfortable for me. I've always been a we us person. I've rarely, if ever, put myself first. From the time I was a child, I was more focused on the family than I was on me or I. As a matter of fact, for the most part, I tend to be really uncomfortable around what I call I, me people. But when you're in the middle of promoting something that you feel is really important, as I do with Misfire, because I truly do believe that the material that's in the book, carried by the story that we created for it, will change lives. It will help small business people especially get a better handle on the business end of their business. And if not that, then certainly will help them get a better handle on bringing their life back into control and controlling themselves as they go through this, crucible of chaos that everybody goes through every day. And that's basically inescapable. And when you're sitting down to write a letter, to ask someone else, particularly someone else you don't know, or even somebody that you do know, to do something for you to help get that message out, your amygdala is screaming at you not to do it, because you don't want to be ridiculed. You don't want to have to go through the rejection involved in having them say, no, I'm not going to do that, or no, I can't do that, or look somewhere else. And that becomes incredibly even magnified by many more times when whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whatever project it is you're trying to ship, has become really personal to you, and more of a crusade than anything else. I was asked a question while I was being interviewed the other day about whether or not I thought the content of the book would be capable of changing lives, and I said I wouldn't have released it. I wouldn't have written it if I didn't think that. I couldn't have. You couldn't spend that much time doing anything unless you had the faith of a true believer that you were doing it for noble purposes. You were doing it for greater good. You were doing it to help somebody else. So the big question then becomes, what do you do? How do you fight that? How do you go ahead and how do you win a battle with a subconscious element of your mind that you can't communicate with, that has no language skills? And the only answer I can come up with is that you just have to work hard to overcome your fear and look at the world around you, recognizing that if anybody else has done anything that's even remotely close to what it is you're about to do or what you're trying to do, then there's really no reason that you can't do it. I mean, I'm not sure that there's a better answer than that. I think you just have to force yourself to do the work, as we've talked about in other blog posts. And then once you've done the work, you have to force yourself to overcome the terror, the absolute terror of shipping it and getting it out into the world. And then overcome the fear of rejection, realizing that it's better to have a few people really respond to what you're doing than get your message out to a mass of people who don't. So I think that's something for all of us to think about as we move through life and as we are involved in our daily projects, our daily work, our daily jobs, uh, everything we're trying to accomplish, everything we're trying to achieve, and know your enemy. Recognize who your enemy really is, and that once you've established that, this resistance is coined by Stephen Pressfield, or the lizard brain is coined and recognized by Seth Godin, or the amygdala, that first year med students probably study, is real. It's there. It's not going away. And the only way to accomplish anything of consequence is to overcome that initial terror involved in getting anything of worthy accomplished. So while you're thinking about that, I'll be thinking about tomorrow and not having to go to City of Hope, although I do have to go for a blood test tomorrow. Not looking forward to that because they have the best phlebotomists in the world at City of Hope and much less pain involved in that at the City of Hope than there is anywhere else. But I'm hoping that I'll get a good phlebotomist tomorrow and it won't hurt too bad, and then get on with the day's errands. Until then, stay well, take care. Look forward to talking to you then.